Welcome back to Manga Mondays, the only manga review show that's currently cancelled. 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is that Manga Mondays has no real growth potential because it's not a show that anybody really wants. People do want a manga review show. People want Digibro talking about manga, but nobody wants Manga Mondays. That's because Manga Mondays was originally made as kind of a joke gimmick. It was originally just an excuse for me to load up a whole bunch of videos at once that were very easy to make, schedule them way ahead of time, and have them come out for an incredibly long period. That was basically just like fun, easy content for anybody who felt like seeing it. And whereas the original meme shows where I made like 7 different shows that all came out once a week, those kind of ended up not being the best for my channel because people were so inundated with mediocre videos from me that I think it started to affect their perception of my ability to make better videos, even though those ones like were mostly made as a meme, but when they start drowning out the main content, then people start to get wary about it. Recently, Pantsu Party, my fiance, made a poll when she did a review of the Chobits manga, asking people for what they look for in manga content, and overwhelmingly the response was that people are looking for in-depth analysis of manga. They want the same kind of videos about manga that I've been doing about anime, that have become popular about anime. You know, people looking at shows in depth and trying to break down what's good about them, or what's interesting about them, or what you can relate to, such, and so on and so forth. And you don't get that out of Manga Mondays, because Manga Mondays only really exists because it's so easy to do. It only exists because it's an excuse for me to go buy manga, for me to read first volumes of stuff while I'm on the toilet, have something to say about it afterwards, and entertain a couple thousand people. Personally, I think that with the kind of content I'm trying to do now, with the way that I'm trying to make sure that all of my videos are interesting, I really don't think Manga Mondays has a place amongst my content as a show that kind of in concept alone involves not talking in super deep depth about stuff. Like, the nature of the show is that it has to come out every week, and it's unsustainable to try to make like a fully crafted product out of that unless it was going to be the only show I was doing. And considering that I'm not really the manga guy, I'm much more of an anime guy, I think it's, you know, almost irresponsible for me to try to make manga my main thing. You know, obviously it's gonna remain a side tangent for me, but I'd rather make fully realized videos about manga. You know, if I'm gonna talk about manga, it should be a series I care about, and I should go in deep about it so that it'll be a video people will remember, and not just something they watch as throwaway fluff every week, along with so much other, you know, fluffy Digibro content that's all kind of getting the axe. The second reason I've kind of said already, really, which is that I'm trying to make my videos better in general. I'm trying to make higher quality stuff. I'm trying to make stuff that takes a little bit longer and a little bit more effort, has a little bit more panache put on it, you know, a little bit more spice. If you've been watching my videos, then hopefully you recognize that. Hopefully you can see that something like the Shintaro Kago video on the main channel was obviously a little bit more inventive and took a little bit more effort than the stuff that, you know, I usually do. Something like the Mori Masaki video that's a big research project, or you know, the video that Davu's been editing for me through all of February. He didn't get it done in time because, you know, he's got his own stuff going on, but there's a video coming soon that is very different stylistically. It was not a huge effort on my part, more so on Davu's. I've got a lot of videos that are in the works, and I've also got lots of just other content that's in the works, or that I've already made but I can't even actually publish. I've got lots of stuff for secret projects that have not really eventuated yet. You know, sometimes there's projects that can't really be released in piecemeal. Some stuff needs to come out all at once. The way I'm trying to evolve my content right now is gonna leave some gaps, and a lot of the stuff that I think doesn't really deserve to exist is gonna get cut. The stuff that, you know, just doesn't hold up, doesn't hold its own weight in my catalog is not going to hold up anymore. So something like Manga Mondays, you've probably been able to tell I canceled basically everything that was going from last year. The only stuff that I'm like still doing that's going to be regular for the future is I still record the pub crawl on Monday night at 11. I want to say that the episode's also released that night if Cider remembers to release them. So if you want to hear 45 minutes of me and my Australian friend getting drunk every week, you still got that weekly Digi content. I've been on the PCP again lately. You know, I was on last week's episode, I'm on this week's episode, I was on the last bonus episode, so if you follow the PCP, you've been hearing, you still hear me weekly. Late Night Comfy Cast is pretty much the only weekly podcast that I'm going to keep doing, and that's because it's so easy to organize, and we can even schedule it ahead, because it's just me and May. Obviously, I don't have to round anybody up or fucking set anything up. It's just filmed in our room, and it's the two of us, and I think it's the best use of our chemistry right now. I think that of all the stuff that we've, come up with to do together, that's the one that has the most appeal. My Patreon exclusive podcasts, which are the bi-weekly 2 Weeks Review and the bi-weekly Digi Does Life, which come out on alternating weeks. I think I'm going to take each of them. They've been 45-minute podcasts until now. I'm going to make them into hour-and-a-half long podcasts and release one of each a month. So it'll just be every 2 weeks you get a podcast. One will be Digi Does Life, one, the same alternating back and forth. Just the podcast will be longer and farther apart. And this means fewer times that I have to interrupt my schedule to get a podcast recorded. Because, frankly, when I'm, working on all these big projects and stuff, oftentimes trying to take away from that, like, every single week to go work on another project can be very distracting. It can be a huge ask to constantly interrupt my schedule with these routine pieces of content that I might not always be inspired to be doing at the time that I have to, So I'd rather try to keep that kind of stuff to a minimum. Try to keep, like, weekly podcasts, regimented content. Anything I don't want to do, obviously, should be kept to a minimum. For instance, I really fucked up when I remade my Patreon goals. The one I had made as the $25 a month goal was singing the names of patrons to the tunes of anime songs, which I thought would just be fun and easy. And after doing it for the first time, I realized it's not fun or easy, and I didn't really like doing it. So I intended to cancel the reward back in, like, November. I told everyone I was going to, like, do one more performance and then cancel it, but I still have never done the performance, so I still have never ended up canceling it. So by the time this video comes out, I'm just going to cancel that Patreon reward tier. I'll do one last singing names later. The only reason I hadn't canceled it already is that I was afraid I wouldn't have access to the list of names, but I can just copy it down as is and then, end the reward tier already, so that people don't keep going on thinking that it's something I'm going to end up doing. But all the other Patreon rewards will probably stay the same, because I enjoy doing all of them. They're a little hard to get out on time, on, like, exactly the right day, but I do enjoy all the other patron reward stuff I do. So that's all going to stay. Anything that's like that kind of regular content, and obviously the weekly shows I already told you about are going to still be there. But anything else is pretty much getting canned. I know there's some people who don't seem to think that the extra effort that I have to put into these videos is worth it. They see these videos coming out, a main channel video once a month, and they're like, I don't think it's worth the trade-off of not getting the, more frequent content if what you're going to put out takes this long to come out. And especially if anybody's unimpressed with the video, if it's not your style of thing. This is sort of the biggest hang-up I have about, like, disappearing for a whole week to put out something, is that if I'm gone for a week working on the Shintaro Kago video and I come back and not everyone is completely in love with it, then that means that I need to have some other content that people can sink their teeth into. So this is why I end up doing so many random things. This is why I end up doing, like, oh shit, like, people are going to be mad if I only put out one video that's like stylistically different from what I'm known for, so let me also put out some podcasts or some Let's Plays or just, like, whatever might strike people's fancy. Whatever, like, I'm just hoping that I'm releasing enough stuff that everyone who's a fan of me has something that they like, but I really feel like I'm working way too hard trying to, like, cater to that audience when, like, I'm supposed to be buckling down and being like, no, we're making the long form stuff that takes a while. That's what it is. That's what we're going to be doing. And, the Digi Dailies were sort of a last-ditch effort at the end of last year when I was first making these plans, when I was deciding that, like, I'm not going to put out frequent content anymore. I thought, well, for the people who still want that, I'll just record this insanely long vlog series or podcast series, and, like, it'll come out every day. People who just want more Digibro content will have it every day. But obviously I didn't complete that project in time for it to fit the structure that it was supposed to have. So it's just kind of dead, and that just means there's not going to be daily Digi content anymore. There's not going to be ultra frequent shit. You're still going to get hours of content every week just by force of pub crawl, PCP, Comfy Cast, Patreon exclusive content. Like, there's still tons of Digibro content coming out, but it's just not going to be fucking ridiculous the way it's been. Like, I want to concentrate on every project. You know, lately the way things have been coming out is like a big project will drop and then about 3 or 4 other smaller things. And that's because either those were things that took longer to edit because I was trying to get through the big thing, or like I felt the need to inundate you with more content because of the fact that I felt like, oh, I've been gone for a week and all I've got to show for it is a video that you might not like. It's always been a policy of mine to take big risks and follow my heart with my content, to, you know, make the kind of stuff that I think is for the best, that I think is going to work, and to try to convince you that, like, I knew what I was talking about, essentially. And if you can't be convinced, then you're probably going to stop watching. But, like, that's the way things work. I'm just going to keep changing and, you know, experimenting and trying to make things the way that I want them to look and the way that I want them to feel. And it's going to take a while to get there. You know, making straightforward anime analysis the way that people seem to expect me to is something that I'm really good at. It's something that I've practiced a lot at, that I think that, you know, I was ahead of the curve on, but I'm not ahead of the curve on being a solid video editor. I'm not ahead of the curve on, you know, just a lot of the styles I want to implement right now. I am not ahead of the curve as a music reviewer. Like, that's something that I'm still trying to figure out how to do correctly. Digibro's Turntable has been, like, the most fun channel to work on since it came out, because everything on there has been totally different. Like, every single video made for that channel has been, like, uniquely approached with, like, how do I communicate this idea? Sometimes it's just a vlog, sometimes there's a little bit more to it, sometimes it's a podcast, sometimes it's music videos. You know, that channel has been non-stop, like, how do I communicate this idea about music in the most effective way? And that's why I think all of those videos have been exactly like what they should be. And meanwhile, on the main channel, there's a lot more of this feeling of like, okay, well, let's make the thing that everybody wants me to make, you know? And when I break away from that, obviously there's going to be fewer views. Something like the Shintaro Kago video is not going to be, you know, looked at in the same way that my normal content is, but... And I'm not going to say that I'm going to be as amazing at doing that kind of content as I am at my normal content. Like, yeah, I'm not as good at these elements of video production. I'm not as good at editing or comedy or, you know, rap or whatever, like, as other people. But there's no way to get good at that without practicing. There's no way to get good at all of it without trying. And I'm willing to take this risk with my content and really try to expand and open up on it and, like, try to do new things and hope for the best. And if people don't want to be around for that growth period, if you don't feel like you can support me unless I'm, like, at the top of whatever game I'm playing, I guess, then that's fine. But, like, you know, I just think that it's time for me to try and improve, and I think that every time I put out a video that doesn't push me in any way, every time I put out just, like, a simple vlog or podcast that doesn't express anything new, doesn't try any new techniques, then it's a concession. I'm only doing that because I think people want me to. I think, like, people are going to be mad if a normal Digibro video doesn't come out. And, you know, maybe people will be mad, but, like, I'm not going to listen to them. If you want to unpatron or unsubscribe, that's fine. Like, that's what we have to do in this period. And if this means I'm going to take a hit, like, if I'm going to take, you know, a hit in subs and patronage because of the fact that I'm changing my content style, then it can't be helped. Like, this needs to happen in order for, you know, growth to continue, in order for evolution to continue. So I'm going to, you know, burn away probably some extra calories of fans in the process of changing, but hopefully when I come out the other side and I've, you know, learned from the things I'm trying to do and mastered some of these crafts, I'll be able to grow a whole new audience, you know, preferably one that's even bigger than the last, but we shall see going forward. That's the kind of risks I'm willing to take. Let's go.